Imagine waking up one morning with the uncomfortable realization that the life you've been living may not be truly your own. Every decision you've made, every belief you've adopted, and even your deepest desires might not have come from the core of who you are. Instead, they may have been shaped by societal expectations, conditioning, and the invisible influences of the world around you. Pause for a moment and reflect. How much of your identity is truly an authentic reflection of your inner self, and how much of it is a mask crafted by external pressures? How often do you find yourself playing a role, living a life that seems to be following a script written by society, your upbringing, or the fears that constantly whisper in the background of your mind? Today, we are embarking on a journey to explore one of Carl Jung's most profound insights, the notion that life truly begins when we find ourselves. But what does it mean to find yourself? Is it simply about becoming more self-aware? Or is there a much deeper and more transformative process at play? Stay with me, because as we uncover the hidden forces that shape your identity, you'll come to understand why most people never truly find themselves and how you can break free. Carl Gustav Jung was a visionary pioneer in the field of depth psychology. His approach delved beyond the conventional theories of the mind, seeking to explore the vast and mysterious realms of the unconscious. Unlike many psychologists of his time, Jung didn't view mental well-being as merely about adapting to societal norms. Instead, he believed that psychological growth was a journey toward individuation, the process of becoming one's most authentic self. But here's the hard truth. Most people never take this journey. They remain trapped within a version of themselves shaped by external influences. They live according to expectations, never stopping to question or whether the life they're living is genuinely aligned with who they are. They seek validation from the outside world, believing happiness comes from external approval, success, or fitting in. Yet deep down, there is often a quiet unrest, a sense that something is missing. Jung believed that real life only begins when we stop running from ourselves. But before we can understand what it truly means to find ourselves, we must first explore what prevents most people from doing so. From the moment we are born, we are conditioned. We are assigned names, identities, and predefined roles. We are taught what is acceptable, what is rewarded, and what is punished. This process is so gradual and subtle that we rarely question it. We adapt, conform, and over time, we learn to suppress parts of ourselves that don't align with the expectations placed upon us. Think back to your childhood. Were there moments when you freely expressed yourself, only to be met with disapproval? Perhaps you were told to be realistic, to stop being too sensitive, or that certain emotions or desires were inappropriate. Slowly, you began to hide those parts of yourself, tucking them away so that no one could see them. And in doing so, you started to build a mask. Jung called this the persona, the face we present to the world. The persona allows us to function in society, to navigate relationships, and to gain acceptance. But here's the problem. The more we identify with this mask, the more we lose touch with our real selves. We begin to believe we are the persona, forgetting that something much deeper lies beneath it. And then there's the shadow. The persona is the face we show to the world, while the shadow is what we hide from it. It consists of everything we have rejected or suppressed within ourselves: our fears, unspoken desires, vulnerabilities, and even our hidden strengths. And here's where it gets even more profound. The shadow doesn't just disappear. It doesn't vanish because we choose to ignore it. Instead, it operates beneath the surface, subtly influencing our thoughts, behaviors, and emotional reactions. The parts of ourselves we reject don't just go away. They manifest in unconscious ways, often through projection. Have you ever felt an intense dislike for someone without fully understanding why? Have you ever been triggered by someone's behavior, provoking a strong emotional reaction from you? Jung believed that when we are disturbed by qualities in others, it is often because those very qualities exist within us, hidden in our own shadow. But what if I told you that within this shadow lies the key to true self-discovery? What if the parts of yourself you've suppressed and ignored are not your enemies, but the missing pieces of your wholeness? Are you ready to confront the truth of who you are? To break free from the illusions that have shaped you? What comes next will challenge everything you thought you knew about yourself and will open the door to a life that is truly yours. Most people go through life believing they already know who they are. They define themselves by their name, their job, their culture, their past experiences. But what if I told you that your identity is far more complex than you think? That the self you believe yourself to be is just a surface-level construct, a fraction of a much deeper reality. Jung believed that within each of us lies a hidden world, a vast and intricate inner landscape filled with forgotten memories, suppressed emotions, unacknowledged desires, and untapped potential. The key to truly finding yourself is not about constructing a new identity. It's about uncovering what has been buried within you. Let's take a moment to reflect. Have you ever felt a deep, unexplainable longing for something more? A sense that there is a greater version of yourself waiting to emerge? This is not just imagination. It is the voice of your unconscious mind calling you to something greater. Jung referred to this process as individuation. He believed that true fulfillment comes not from conforming to external expectations, but from integrating all aspects of ourselves, the good, the bad, the light, and the dark. But before we can integrate these parts, we must first confront them. And this is where most people stop. Why? Because facing yourself is uncomfortable. It requires looking at parts of your personality that you've long ignored. It demands that you question long-held beliefs, challenge your fears, and confront the inner conflicts that have shaped your life. Think about it. How often do we avoid silence? How often do we distract ourselves with work, social media, entertainment, or anything else that keeps us from sitting alone with our thoughts? This constant distraction is not accidental. It's a defense mechanism, a way to avoid the deeper questions that lurk beneath the surface. But no matter how much we try to ignore them, these hidden aspects of ourselves do not go away. They show up in unexpected ways, through anxiety, self-sabotage, unfulfilling relationships, or a persistent feeling of being lost. Jung believed that our unconscious mind is always speaking to us, but we have learned to ignore its messages. However, if we start paying attention, we begin to see patterns. We begin to notice how our deepest wounds influence our choices, how our suppressed desires shape our behaviors, and how the things we fear most often hold the greatest lessons. Let's consider a simple yet powerful example: the fear of rejection. Many people go through life terrified of being judged or abandoned. They seek approval, avoid conflict, and suppress their true thoughts in order to maintain harmony. But where does this fear come from? Is it really about the opinions of others, or does it stem from something deeper? Perhaps an old wound, an experience from childhood, a moment when they felt unseen or unworthy. Jung would argue that this fear is not just an emotion. It is a shadow aspect of the self that has not been fully acknowledged. And until it is brought into the light, it will continue to control our actions from behind the scenes. But here's the incredible thing. When we finally face these hidden parts of ourselves, they lose their power over us. Imagine for a moment what it would feel like to live without fear of judgment, to speak your truth without hesitation, to make decisions not based on what others expect, but on what resonates deeply within you. This is the power of individuation. It is not about becoming someone new. It's about becoming more of who you truly are. But how do we begin? How do we uncover the unconscious forces that shape our lives? Jung believed that one of the most powerful ways to access the unconscious is through symbols, dreams, and introspection. He saw dreams as messages from the deeper self, revelations of hidden truths about our psyche. He also emphasized the importance of creative expression, art, writing, music, and other forms of self-exploration as ways of accessing and integrating the unconscious mind. But perhaps the most important step is simply this: awareness. The moment you begin to question your thoughts, your reactions, and your deeply held beliefs, you are already taking the first steps toward transformation. The moment you stop running from discomfort and start facing it with curiosity, you begin to reclaim your true self. Because here's the truth: most people live their entire lives as strangers to themselves. They follow the paths laid out for them, never realizing that they have the power to choose something different. They suppress their true nature, never realizing that their greatest strength lies in embracing all that they are. But you don't have to be one of those people. You have the power to break free from the illusions that have held you back, to shed the layers of conditioning and fear that have kept you from experiencing life fully, to step into the fullness of who you are, unafraid and unapologetic. In the next part, we will explore something even more profound: the hidden archetypes within you. These ancient patterns buried deep in your psyche hold the key to unlocking your greatest potential. What you are about to learn may change the way you see yourself forever. The journey to finding yourself is not as simple as making a decision. It's far more complex. It is not just about choosing who you want to be. It is about uncovering the forces that have shaped you, facing the parts of yourself you have rejected, and integrating them into a whole, authentic identity. But there's one final piece to this puzzle, the greatest realization of all. The obstacle to finding yourself is not only fear, self-doubt, or external conditioning. It is something much deeper, something hidden in the very fabric of how we perceive reality itself. And in the next part, we will uncover it. What you are about to hear will challenge everything you thought you knew about yourself and may just change your life forever.